I sometimes ask clients a question that I think is pretty significant. And so I'm going to ask you and let you think about it, and I would love to hear your response to it. But the question is, who do you trust? And most commonly, the answer I will get is, well, I trust God. I trust my spouse. I trust my best friend. And I like it when they say, I trust you. But there's one person that is almost inevitably missing off that list. It is incredibly rare for me to hear somebody say, I trust myself. Now, let's think about that and take a look at it for a minute. If you had the opportunity to get acquainted with somebody, maybe go into a business venture with somebody, or just develop a great relationship with somebody, but you didn't feel they were trustworthy, would you proceed? I wouldn't. I'd do a fast 180 and get out of there. And I suspect most of you would react in the same way also. So, how does that play into our relationship with ourselves? One of the things that I have taught for a long time is the importance of keeping commitments to yourself. Now, if you're like most of us, you're vulnerable to saying yes way too often. You find that you're overloaded, you're overwhelmed, and there's things that you have committed to other people that you will do, and things that you have committed to yourself that you will do. And because you're an honorable person, you're going to make sure that you can keep your commitments to other people. And in the meantime, your commitments to yourself sort of get tossed on the back burner. They get procrastinated. For years, I lived in a place where my mantra was, if I just survive the next 2 weeks, then I can, or then I will. And those were about the promises to me. The problem with that is it was a rolling 2 weeks. Something came off the front end, something else came on the back end, and it was still a rolling 2 weeks. And so the promises that I was making to myself weren't happening. And I suspect that that's something that a lot of you can relate to. So how we can deal with that and not get ourselves in that situation will be the subject of a video in a couple of days. But right now, here's what happens. When we don't see us keeping our commitments to ourselves, what kind of a message are we sending to ourselves? When somebody else doesn't keep their commitments to us, we deem them to be untrustworthy. When we don't keep our commitments to ourselves, on some level, aren't we telling ourselves that we're not trustworthy? Can you imagine a sadder commentary in life than to be telling yourself that you're not trustworthy? There is no way that is ever going to serve you. That's no way that is ever going to allow you to do the things that are important to you, to be the person that you know you can be, to do the things that you know you were born to do. So when you know you're trustworthy, what happens? It enhances your self-esteem. It enhances your self-confidence. You're comfortable with yourself. You're willing to take risks. You embrace new ideas and new opportunities. Yeah, some of them are going to wind up being spectacular failures. You know, I think it was Thomas Edison, who, when asked about failing on the creation of the electric light bulb, instead of saying he had failed 10,000 times, he simply said, I found 10,000 things that don't work. That's going to be a part of life. But when we trust ourselves, those times when we stub our toe and have to look for a different way, a better way, are not debilitating. They're not ego-crushing. They're just simply a part of our learning curve. And so, what greater gift can we give ourselves than to trust ourselves? And that starts with keeping our commitments to ourselves. Sounds easy. It really is. But it is a process, a learning curve, like everything else in life. But embrace it and start giving it some thought. And we'll talk more in a couple of days.